All right, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Ange Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Thursday Night Football live stream after this very interesting game between the Atlanta Falcons and, of course, Carolina Panthers. Welcome, everyone. For the next 2 hours or so, actually maybe less, I don't know, this depends. We're going to be talking all things fantasy football. If you guys have any questions, be sure to go ahead and type it in the live chat. Of course, mention your guys' scoring format because that certainly helps me, of course, kind of give you the best overall advice that I can. Whether it's a trade question, of course, give me more context as to what you have in terms of your bench depth and why those decisions may be made in terms of going after a certain player or making a certain trade, which makes it a little bit clearer for me to give you guys poignant advice. Of course, if you guys can, click the like button down below. Certainly does help out the channel. In about a couple seconds from now, I'm going to go ahead and throw the chat up on screen. Again, I was reading some of the comments before we started. Man, you guys are hilarious. Like, some of these comments are actually, like, I find it to be, like, straight comedy. And I'll point out exactly the ones I'm talking about. And I don't blame you guys. I know some of you are angry because of bad performances, but it happens. I mean, that's just fantasy football. The more you play, the more teams you have, the more you'll begin to understand that it's all pain. And that's pretty much what fantasy football is contained to. It's pain that is kind of given to you weekly in certain amount of dosage. Either way, let's go ahead. Let's pop the chat up on screen. It's going to be a pretty fun stream here, okay? First and foremost, when I saw Isaac say Patterson garbage, not even anything else, no context, just that in itself, you can tell Isaac had Cordero Patterson. And hey, listen, I had Cordero Patterson on the team today as well. It happens, it is just the nature of the game. And I love to see it. I even saw like comments like this one right here. So is Dante Foreman a thing? He's been a thing for 3 weeks now, right? I mean, that's, what is that? The last month, right? The last month, he's had 3 games of over 118 rushing yards. So yeah, I would think he's a thing. He was a thing after that second performance, in week 8 against the Atlanta Falcons. That was a major breakout in which he had over 118 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, free Kyle Pitts. That's a given. I mean, Marcus Mariota, which David Ramos, how you doing, David? Hope you're doing well, says is bad. Yeah, he's bad. But for fantasy purposes, let me tell you guys, he got me a nice 22 points today. 40 rushing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. I don't care what he does in terms of interceptions, as long as this man continues to get the ball down the field and into the end zone. That was a good day for Marcus Mariota truthers and or fantasy managers, which obviously kind of helped us. But either way, I understand you guys are struggling. I understand the pain. Trust me, I have a lot of team. I've played a lot of fantasy. I know exactly the feeling. I've just become numb to it, right? That's why I do what I do. I can kind of look past the emotions of the game and just give you guys straight analysis and straight advice that I have no emotions involved in. You know what I mean? Okay, so before we get into, because I'm about to start answering questions at a pretty quick rate. Before we do so, if you guys do send in a question via donation, greatly appreciate it. You don't have to. Please be sure to go ahead and make sure that your message is attached, because there's a chance that it doesn't get attached and then we're just completely trying to find everything. So outside of that, I think we're good to go. Appreciate you guys. Let's get into this. So I know that G Squared sent in a mustache as just an emote, as a donation. I appreciate that, G Squared. Yeah, my mustache is getting a little bit out of hand, man. It certainly is, but it's okay. It should be fine. Trojan sent in a question. He had said, Andrew, Judy / Sutton are on the waivers. Better pickup. At this point, I would venture to say that Judy is more. Yeah, I would go ahead and lean with Judy. I think the way they utilize him specifically in their scheme is a little bit more, I guess, adaptive in comparison to Cortland Sutton. If Cortland Sutton is just having a bad day, it's because Russell Wilson's having a bad day. There's no way to get him the ball. Jerry Jeudy, they're willing to get him involved out of the backfield, run him on little, bubble screens, get him involved in the shorter passing game in comparison. Big J sends in a question, says, flex JT, Gabriel Davis, or Joshua Palmer in a full PPR? No, look, if Joshua Palmer is great. Gabriel Davis, again, if Josh Allen is healthy by Sunday, is a fantastic play, right? But the issue is neither of them are Jonathan Taylor. And regardless of what the scenario is, if Jonathan Taylor, like he did today, fully practices again tomorrow, he is 1,000% starting on my team. On every team that I have, I will start him. So yeah, that's pretty much my thought process there. Big J, thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's see here. Andrew, do you have defensive rankings? And also Gano or McPherson rest of the way? I personally prefer Gano over McPherson rest of the way. I've looked at the Giants' strength of schedule. It is going to be a easier trot for them to get into the playoffs than a lot of other teams. And Gano's consistency has just been there. So I'm all in on Gano there. As for defensive rankings for like rest of season, or are we talking about for this week? Because usually we do that by Sunday. And if you can be patient until then, that'd be awesome. Thursday games suck. Yeah, you're not wrong, Isaac. You're not wrong in any sort of capacity. It is a curse. There's always going to be people that just have terrible weeks on Thursday night because it's a short week. A lot of these guys played, on Sunday. They may be a little bit banged up, and it's just the way it is. Is Foreman having a good game? If Foreman is having a good game, the Panthers are winning. Yeah, I mean, that's the entire thing, right? Especially if they can go ahead, kill clock with the running game, and then turn it around and send pressure like they were. I mean, they were making Mariota very uncomfortable back there. Seeing Kyle Pitts line up as a blocker legitimately makes me mad. No, I agree. Listen, it's more of a philosophy thing with Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith is way more inclined to just, hey, this is the way that I see football, and this is the way I want to win games. I don't care what pieces I have. I'm going to fit them in, even if they don't fit into the puzzle piece, position, just to make it work. And obviously, you don't win championships like that. But you know what you do? You get the first overall pick in the NFL draft when you do stuff like that. I don't know if they're going to be the first overall pick. I think they've won maybe too many games already. But they're certainly on their way down there. If Foreman, okay, yeah. So yeah, listen, Foreman is going to be like people were asking. Is he somebody now? Yes, he certainly is. Tomorrow we're going to have a rest of season running back rankings video. Within that video, I'm going to talk about my top 36 running backs. I'm going to go into detail about every single one of them, and we're going to talk about rest of season strength of schedule. So everything running back related tomorrow in one singular video. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to see Wakanda Forever, and then I'm going to put out that video. So it should be fun. Carl says, thank you for convincing me to start him in your running back video. Hey, listen, if you made the ultimate decision at the end, I'm here to just give you some stats and maybe make the decision easier. And if you came to the conclusion of starting him, that's on you. Congratulations. That's a good play, my guy. Just disappointed, no Ritter. Yeah, I mean, he honestly should be given an opportunity, but I guess I'm sure they know more than we do that he may not be ready. You know what I mean? Let's see here. First ever super chat. I appreciate that, Big J. That is greatly appreciated. Again, Jonathan Taylor all the way, my guy. Complete Chaos says Dulcich or Komet. This week I have Dulcich higher than Komet. I mean, I think they're both really good plays. I have them both ranked within my top 11. Earlier today, I posted a video, guys, in regards to top 16 quarterback rankings for this week and top 16 tight end rankings. All in one video. It has Travis Kelce on the thumbnail. So if you guys are interested, you can check that out. Arthur Smith should be banned from Atlanta. That's a little much, isn't it? Isn't that a little much? Jimmy G or Daniel Jones this week? I would go with Jimmy Garoppolo there. Full PPR league, have Lamar Jackson on bye. Yeah, I mean, again, the full PPR doesn't matter because these guys aren't catching the ball. But yeah, it is certainly going to go with Jimmy G over Daniel Jones this week based on overall matchup and, of course, recent success that we've seen from him. Especially if it's a 4-point per passing touchdown format. Yes, Daniel Jones has the upside of running. It's just not a guarantee, though. Khalil Herbert or DeAndre Carter in a full PPR. If we're starting one this week, I think it's probably safer just to go with DeAndre Carter, knowing full well that he'll catch the ball 5 times for 40 yards and you can maybe get 10 fantasy points. As for Khalil Herbert, his inability to get more touches this last week was a little bit concerning to me. I understand that they were trying to come back for majority of the game so they couldn't run late. I think that we just have to be careful with this. I'd like to play Khalil Herbert, but in comparison, it is difficult to play him over somebody, especially in a full PPR scoring format that is going to get, that baseline of production of 10 points. And if lucky, gets himself a touchdown, gets into that, 14-point range within a given week. So Carter's the guy that I'm leaning with there. A couple donations were sent in. Trojan sent in another question, said standard league, Kirk or Gabe this weekend? Yeah, I would play Christian Kirk very, very easily. Even if Josh Allen is healthy, I think I have a hard time playing Gabriel Davis there. And when I say healthy, I just mean active. Even if he's active on Sunday, I don't know if I'm going to play Gabriel Davis there. I think I'd much rather just play Christian Kirk in a matchup in which we know he's going to be, probably in a negative game script. They'll be throwing the entire time. And when they're throwing the entire time, specifically, of course, in his direction, he finds himself a lot of success. Again, in the games in which he is getting himself ample opportunity, I think there's been like, 4 or 5 games this year where he has 6 catches in all of those games. He has over 72 receiving yards. Of course, accompanied those performances with touchdowns, specifically last week. There are great games that, Christian Kirk could put together, and hopefully this is another one of them. Xavier sent in a question. Thank you very much, Xavier. Appreciate it. Says, should I trade Olave for Sanders or Fournette? My wide receivers are Kupp, St. Brown, and Godwin. I have Stevenson, Montgomery, and Gibson. If I'm trading for one of those 2 running backs, honestly, I think I'm just going to trade for Miles Sanders. I think the Leonard Fournette experiment that is happening back there, where they're kind of rotating in a little bit more Rachaad White every single week, getting him more and more touches, is enough of a scare, in my perspective, to pivot away from him and just go with Miles Sanders in an offense that has a significantly better offensive line, significantly better offensive running scheme. And when you're obviously attached to Jalen Hurts, there's always the potential that Jalen Hurts could take away some touchdowns, but that read option always keeps that backside defensive end from coming down the line of scrimmage and blowing up plays. That obviously makes it that much easier within the blocking scheme, that you don't have to, you don't have to put a man on him. Nobody has to touch him because he has to respect Jalen Hurts' rushing ability. I'm all in on Sanders there. Thank you, Xavier. Appreciate that. Russell sent in a question really quickly. PPR pick 2, Fournette, Evans, Lockett, Jamal Williams. I mean, as of right now in a full PPR scoring format, I want to play both Evans and Lockett. I don't know if I can because Jamal Williams is such a great prospect. I think this is going to be a question as to what we see by tomorrow in terms of DeAndre Swift's practice participation. If he's limited once again, I'd probably go Jamal Williams and Evans. If he's not, and we get a full practice from DeAndre Swift, which would be a surprise, but if we do, at that point, I would play Lockett and Evans in this given week. Thank you. All right, let me go ahead and scroll down. Is Foreman a must-start moving forward? I mean, Kepler, yeah. I mean, if you guys look at his schedule, it has a little bit of, a couple rough games here and there. I know Chuba Hubbard coming back is certainly going to, make an impact, especially when Chuba is like fully healthy at that point. But as we continue here, we're going to be in a really good position to at very least have him in that top 15 conversation every single week. And at this point, even with the offense that they are, with PJ Walker at quarterback, probably not, in positions to win many games, the fact that they're able to run as effectively as they have, it's great. The only issue becomes when they play against teams that are just outright better than them. Like the Cincinnati game, and the Cincinnati mounts such an early lead, and it forces the Carolina Panthers to no longer run the ball. That is when the concern arises. But I'm telling you, when you get into the month of December, when you get into the month of December and you play against Pittsburgh, Seattle, Detroit, going into the fantasy playoffs, dude, those are not teams that are going to blow anybody out. Those are going to be very competitive games, and he's going to be running the entire time, which is fantastic for us. Let me see here. Okay, we already did that. Khalil Herbert, we already did that. We already trade J-Rob for Gabriel Davis. I guess it depends on what kind of running back depth you have. I really do like the New York Jets rest of season strength of schedule, specifically in the playoffs, weeks 15 through 17. They've got 2 really good games there that I mean, based on the utilization that we saw from James Robinson this last week, in conjunction with what we saw from Michael Carter, both of them finding the end zone, could be a value in the fantasy playoffs if you need running back depth. But otherwise, you can go ahead and take the risk on Gabriel Davis, and let's see what happens with Josh Allen's his throwing arm. Which wide receiver can I get for Fields? Again, it is 100% dependent on which team in your league needs a quarterback. If someone is desperate enough to trade for Fields, you go and you try to ask for probably their second best wide receiver, because I don't think anybody's giving you Cooper Kupps or somebody that's elite in that sort of level. No one's giving you Jalen Waddles. You're going to probably have to go and knock on doors and ask for guys like Tyler Lockett's, DK Metcalf's, Chris Olave's, and just hope that you can get that in return, assuming you have another quarterback on roster that is, of course, of value. But again, a lot of it is going to be determined on who in your league is in desperate need of a quarterback and what wide receivers do they have available to them. Trade away Mahomes and JT for Christian McCaffrey, Rodgers. Got Fields on the bench. Trade away Mahomes and JT for Christian McCaffrey and Rodgers. Okay, so this is what I'll tell you. I significantly prefer Christian McCaffrey over Jonathan Taylor. So if it's a matter of, hey, a 2-for-1 because you're not using Rodgers, it's okay. Quite frankly, because you have Fields, I'm willing to take the risk, but it is a risk implied. Of course, there's a risk implied with Jonathan Taylor as well. At this point, this is a tough one, actually, because Mahomes in the fantasy playoffs could win. Yeah, the main risk here is Fields and Jonathan Taylor, right? Does Jonathan Taylor pull together his season and complete the rest of the year at a pretty good pace in which he's scoring consistently? And can Fields put up, similar numbers? I'm not saying put up 40 points a week. I'm just saying, can he be around that 18 to 22 point range every single week? What's more likely? Obviously, it's Jonathan Taylor putting up points in my mind. But if you're willing to take the risk and go for the Christian McCaffrey play, I don't mind it. I'm not against the trade in any sort of capacity. Traded Claypool for Deontay. Thoughts? Yeah, I'm fine with that. Again, Claypool was being utilized last week 81% outside. So going from the slot position with Pittsburgh, moving him back to the outside like he was in his rookie season with Big Ben, where he scored those 10 touchdowns in that given year. It is exciting to hopefully see him put together something, but the frequency in which that team passes the ball, specifically not even just passing the ball to wide receivers, but just down the field in general, isn't enough for me to feel confident about the matter. So I'd just rather have Deontay there. So I'm good with that. Just traded DJ Moore for Montgomery in a PPR. Yeah, I think that's a W. Specifically because David Montgomery in the fantasy playoffs has a couple good matchups there, specifically against the Detroit Lions, which is one that I want to take advantage of. And, interestingly enough, he plays against them this week, so that'll give us a little bit of a glimpse as to what we can expect in the fantasy playoffs. Will you do an update to the rest of the season rankings before the playoffs? Yeah, I'm going to do it like probably every 2 weeks like I typically do. A lot of you guys, don't watch the videos, but it's okay. They're there. So I did one probably not even it was probably last week, to be totally honest. Now that I'm thinking about it. Was it last week or the week before? Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks ago. So every 2 weeks I put it out. So yeah, it'll certainly be there before the fantasy playoffs when we get to week 15 when it is, or maybe even week 14 when it's arrived, just depending on the week. I'm tempted this week to bench Mahomes and start Fields. Okay, now you're getting a little too cute with it, okay? You're getting a little too cute with it, I think. I'd rather bench a mediocre player on Thursday and lose points on the bench. Yeah, I mean, that's, again, I have a relationship with somebody on the Patreon, right? Where every week we talk about fantasy, because again, the Patreon, you can ask whatever questions you want. We talk about it every single week. Hey, who will be starting on Thursday? And him and I, we have concluded that regardless of who he has, literally, it doesn't matter who the player is. If they're on Thursday, we're not starting him. And over the last couple weeks, it has actually been a legitimate lifesaver for his team, which is crazy to me. I mean, I don't know how it's gotten to that point, but hey, we'll take it. Let's see here. Robbie says I'm 3-6. My team is Kyler, ETN, Jeff Wilson, J-Rob, Hop, Juju, Gabe Davis, Brandon Cooks. Who can I get for Hop and Gabriel Davis? I don't know if Gabriel Davis has much value, especially after the last 3 consecutive performances. But if you're looking to move DeAndre Hopkins in specific, which I don't think is a bad idea considering the eventual return of Hollywood Brown most likely next week. And of course, DeAndre Hopkins is going to have a bye week upcoming here soon. I think, what is it, week 13 that the Arizona Cardinals have a bye? So if you can get a player in return that also doesn't have a bye, could be of service to you. I'm looking for running backs. Again, if you can go ahead and move D-Hop and try to go get a Dameon Pierce, that sounds to me like a pretty even trade in my mind, especially if someone needs a wide receiver and has a little bit extra running back depth. Those are the kind of players I'm looking for. Hey, Andrew, would you trade Cooper and Olave for CeeDee Lamb? Probably not. I think you're giving up too much in that regard. I think Cooper's rest of season value is great. The fact that Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry can't stay healthy really does increase the value of Olave, and especially the upcoming matchups we're going to get here. I think I'd rather just have the depth of Cooper and Olave in comparison than just the singular value of CeeDee Lamb, especially when we consider your wide receiver position. I don't know who you start in the flex every single week, but once in fact you do get back Mike Williams, you can have, Cooper, Mike Williams as your 1-2, Olave in the flex in a full PPR scoring format. That seems like a really good team that I'd like to roll with moving forward. Let's see here. JT and his backup for Connor and his backup and Lazard. No, I'd rather just keep JT. Again, you'd have to be in a very desperate position to pivot from JT to James Conner in any sort of capacity, because even though I do like James Conner, the upcoming bye week doesn't help. And the fact that, quite frankly, the running game just hasn't been there all season long for the Arizona Cardinals is definitely concerning. And that mainly has to do with the fact that their offensive line has been banged up all season long. And I don't think that's getting better anytime soon. Now, hopefully, Rodney Hudson can get healthy, but it just hasn't been there. Anaji or Ayuk in a full PPR. I probably just play Ayuk there. Started McLaurin over Foreman. Am I a goose? No, I don't think you're a goose. It happens, man. It happens. Happens to the best of us. All right, so let me see here. A couple more questions that were sent in. After Russell's question, we had Alan. Alan, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Alan says, pick 2 in a full PPR scoring format. Donovan Peoples-Jones, Zay Jones, Pittman, Curtis Samuel. Okay, currently, Off my rankings that I did earlier today via Patreon, I had the 2 highest ranked between the bunch of players here, I believe, were Michael Pittman Jr. and Curtis Samuel. So that's probably where I would go with as of this moment. Thank you. Dalton Robinson sends in a question. Thank you very much, Dalton. Appreciate that. It says, I traded Herbert, Schultz, and Walker. Okay, so Herbert as in Justin Herbert or Khalil Herbert. And then for Kelsey and Godwin. Okay. Still have Barkley and Lenny, Fields, Higgins. Okay, so I'm assuming that's going to be Justin Herbert. That's why you mentioned Fields. I'm assuming. So if you traded Schultz, Walker, Herbert for Kelsey and Godwin. So, okay. I mean, okay, let's see how this is going to work. You have Barkley, Lenny. You're going to bring back Kelsey. You have Cooper, Higgins. Okay, I'm fine with it. That doesn't bother me. Again, trading away Herbert doesn't hurt in any sort of capacity, considering he hasn't played well this season. And we're probably in a position where he may not play as well as we want him to going forward. So we're most likely in a position where, quite frankly, Fields probably outscores him rest of the way. And if that's going to be the case, you're fine. As for Walker and Schultz for Kelsey Godwin, I mean, I think that's relatively even across the board. Even though I do believe that Walker has significantly more overall upside going forward, I guess we're just going to have to take it. I don't know what kind of scoring format you're in, but if you're in a full PPR, I think this works. But yeah, trading away Walker certainly is tough there. But again, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it overall. The biggest concern I have with your team, Dalton, is you have Leonard Fournette and you have Godwin. If Tom Brady doesn't pick it up now, right? If he doesn't gain some confidence, the post-divorce game, breakout, if he doesn't have one, you're in a lot of trouble. Because Lenny and Godwin not scoring touchdowns is going to be the bane of your existence in terms of the rest of the season. We just got to hope that they put it together. Because if they do, we got no problem going forward. J-Bo says, PPR, I just traded Jacobs plus Curtis Samuel for D-Hop. Jacobs and Curtis Samuel for D-Hop. Maybe I have a different opinion than y'all in terms of Jacobs. Considering the news that was kind of put out there today in regards to Darren Waller going to the injured reserve along with Hunter Renfrow, that makes me think that there's more of a potential kind of incline of opportunity and touches that Josh Jacobs is going to get. So from my perspective, I don't know what you have at wide receiver. I don't know what you have at running back, but I think I would rather have just had Jacobs going forward. Let's see. Your Taco sent in a question. Says, I'm 7-2 in a full PPR league, 12-man. I have Lamar, Mixon, Swift, Jefferson, St. Brown, Pickens, Mark Andrews. Okay, great. I got offered Chase and ETN for Mixon, St. Brown, Tom Brady. Should I do it? Haha. Chase and ETN for Mixon, St. Brown, Tom Brady. I think we take it. Hear me out. You're 7-2. You can wait for Chase to return. Chase is significantly better than St. Brown. ETN, in my opinion, could very easily... I mean, I honestly do think that he has just as much value, if not more value, than Mixon rest of the way. I know Mixon's coming off a big game, but again, there's a reason why he had such a drought of touchdowns, because that offensive line against specific teams doesn't really find much success. So looking at it across the board, I don't mind this trade at all. I would actually take it, Taco, in preparation for that playoff stretch where you can legitimately have Jefferson and Chase as your 1-2, and then a healthy Swift, ETN obviously balling out going forward. You don't need Brady. Just get it done says PPR, JT or Olave this week. Again, if JT is healthy, I have a very difficult time not starting him, regardless of who we're talking about. Currently, I have him in my top 12 rankings based on the fact that he practiced fully today. I don't care who their play caller is. I expect that team, specifically against the Raiders. You know what I'm actually thinking? Earlier this week, when we started on Monday, okay, and we'd been given word that Jeff Saturday was given the head coaching job, I legitimately thought they were going to get blown out. And now I'm beginning to lean in the direction that the Raiders are going to lose this game. The Raiders are going to find a way to lose this game. And when they do, and Jonathan Taylor has a pop-off game, it is going to be hilarious to witness. Now, maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe I'm just creating a fantasy in my own mind. But that's the point of fantasy football, right? We're trying to, come up with potential solutions or expectation of performances. And then as for your follow-up question, Schultz, Higbee, or Komet, I'd go with Schultz this week there. Thank you. All right, let's see what the chat has to say. What are we at here, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen? I traded JT and Higgins for Josh Jacobs and Terry McLaurin. JT and Higgins for Josh Jacobs, Terry McLaurin. I'm 4-5. Need to get a playoff spot. Yeah, I mean, considering Higgins is on a bye and you need to win this week, I'm okay with this. This is fine. Again, that's the entire purpose, right? You're trying to avoid any sort of complications with JT specifically. And then you're also on top of it trying to avoid the bye weeks that could end up losing you this season. You know what I mean? So I don't mind that in this current capacity, considering your record. And if I'm not mistaken, Jonathan Taylor, yeah, he has a week 14 bye along with Terry McLaurin. It's fine. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor, week 14 bye could hurt. So going and making that swap, I don't mind it at this point. Let's see here. Taylor and Pickens for Fournette, McLaurin, Mooney. I'd rather just, I mean, I'm scared McLaurin and Fournette value is about to tank. I think Fournette's value has already tanked. So if you can go and get Taylor for it, I don't mind it. Again, I don't know what your wide receiver depth looks like. So if you're in a position where you can sell McLaurin and Mooney, then, you know, go for it. That's fine by me. Started Patterson, had Foreman on the bench. Yeah, that's rough, Jeff. That is rough. Condolences on the week. It's a rough way to start on Thursday. Carolina and the under. We living. Is that an actual thing? Is Carolina always hitting the under? Halo Media Records says, I have to start either Slayton or grab Nico. There are no other wide receivers left. Who do I get? Even Matt Collins is rostered. Yeah, I mean, I'm playing Slayton there. Very confidently, in fact. Trade JT and Amari Cooper for Miles Sanders and Mark Andrews. Again, it depends on what kind of depth you have, guys. I don't know who's sitting at your tight end position. I don't know who's filling in at wide receiver. If we're just talking about a vacuum, who's going to score more points, I think it's legitimately, if Mark Andrews is fully healthy, this side could outscore the other. It just depends on what JT we're getting, right? So that's what makes it difficult in this position. It depends what kind of necessities your team at this point requires. I just dropped Kyle Pitts. Oh man, that's interesting. Where are my Foreman owners? Yeah, listen, Chuba Hubbard, not someone to worry about. I mean, listen, the fact that we had an incredible, productive week from Dante Foreman when we did have Chuba Hubbard absent earlier this season, week 8, that was pretty much the final nail in the coffin in terms of determining who's the number one in this backfield. And they once again reestablished that today. Let's see here. JT and Kenneth Walker for Henry. I think that's giving a bit too much. As much as I really love Henry's weeks 15 through 17, going against the LA Chargers, Detroit Lions, and then Dallas Cowboys in week 17 for the championship game, I think you're maybe giving a little bit too much in this. Okay, let me see here. So we did Taco's question. Jabo had sent in a question again. Let me see what Jabo. What do we have here? Jabo, where art thou? Jabo says, I have ETN, Saquon, and Chubb at running back already, and Debo was my wide receiver too. So Jacobs was on my bench at that position. Okay. That's why I got D-Hop. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, you're stacked at running back. So you needed to make a move to get some value back into your starting lineup. So I'm fine with this. There's not a problem there. And then there was a question from Jordy. Jordy, what's up, man? Thank you very much. Jordy says, the GOAT, would you trade Pittman or Sutton for Devonta Smith? Yeah, I'd trade either of them. I would legitimately trade either of them. Don't care. Stash Odell or Hollywood Brown? Hollywood Brown. I think Odell is probably another player that I'm willing to stash on top of it. But if I have to pick priority, I'd rather pick the guy that's not coming off the ACL rather than, rather than the opposite of that. Thank you. Hey, Andrew. I got a trade accepted. I sent away Foreman for McLaurin. Any thoughts? Thanks, sir. Yeah, I'm not too big of a fan on McLaurin at this point. Going rest of the way, McLaurin is a very matchup-dependent player. Considering the quarterback play from the team isn't great, it is difficult. Trey said, many people said to sit Foreman. Why? Why would against the Carolina Panthers? But why? In a rain game? No, you're trolling. There's no way. There's no way anybody said to sit him, dude. Hey, Andrew, do I start Rondell Moore or CH? Yeah, it's Rondell Moore this week. Thank you. Let's see here. Pickens or Hardman this week? I don't know. Hardman didn't even practice today. So this is what I'm beginning to think, guys. And you tell me if my kind of thought process is any sort of, if it's right in any sort of capacity. If Hardman misses this week, do we anticipate Kadarius Toney taking his position? Thoughts? I think that there's a very good chance that Kadarius Toney fills into that role and actually has some value this week. As to whether I play him over Pickens, probably not, because I'm afraid, because I don't know if it's going to be a guarantee. But if Hardman does miss, it kind of leans me in that direction, right? A couple more donations that were sent in here real quick. Chris Green, thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate that. Says, I'm in RB purgatory. Okay, that's a first. Just to start with that in itself is, man, we're struggling out here, huh? I have Patterson, Foreman, Zeke, Khalil, Jeff Wilson, and A.J. Dillon. My wide receivers are J.J. Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, Josh Palmer, and Hollywood Brown. Any trade value that I can get into the mid/low RB1 category. I mean, to be honest, I think you do have already a mid/low RB1. His name is Dante Foreman. So you already have one. Now, as for Cordero Patterson, I understand he didn't have the greatest game. But if you go ahead and you look at the Falcons' rest of the season schedule, I can assure you that having him on roster is going to be beneficial. Considering they take on Chicago, they cannot stop the run. The Washington Commanders, they're a better team. I will give them that. The Washington Commanders can stop the run. So there's a bad matchup. So let's say 1-1. Steelers can't stop the run. That's another great one. The Saints can't stop the run. That's another great one. Ravens. Okay, the Ravens probably can stop the run. So now we're 3-2. Then you get to the Arizona Cardinals in the championship week, January 1st. And at that point, I'm looking down the line. I'm thinking Arizona at times can't stop the run. Let's say it's a 4-2 record there. You got 4 good matchups, 2 bum matchups. Obviously, a lot of them in the fantasy playoffs, 2 of them specifically, where or 2 good matchups in the fantasy playoffs where you go against the Saints and the Cardinals, 2 bird teams going up against each other. So I don't mind it. Now, if you want to sell Cordero Patterson in some sort of capacity, if you're looking for a way out, if you're looking for a low end, let's say, for example, Chris, I'm just going to hypothetically throw it out there. I don't know what the situation looks like in your entire league. I don't know who has what. I don't know what their records are. But if you can go and you can somehow acquire DeAndre Swift for the fantasy playoffs, I think that would be in your best interest. I also believe that if you can get, away with moving Cordero Patterson for a player like, I don't know if it'll happen, but if you can get Miles Sanders, I'm fine with that. They're very similar value. They're very similar kind of players, right? Where they're not going to get receiving work and they're purely going to rely upon rushing work and, of course, rushing touchdowns. And they have other players in their backfield that certainly, siphon value at times. So that could be another way to go about it. You could also move wide receiver positions to acquire talent there, especially when, in fact, we do see Marquise Hollywood Brown come back. I think you can very easily live off of J.J. Amon-Ra and Garrett Wilson for the rest of the season. And you could be able to move Hollywood with one of those running backs and make a move there for a little bit of an upgrade in terms of that lower end RB1 like a Dameon Pierce. Trace sends in a question. What's up, Trace? Thank you very much. Says, play Dante Foreman tonight in a half PPR. I need 1 wide receiver, 1 running back, and 1 flex for this weekend. Okay. Can you pick out of the potential options? Yes. Let's see here. We have Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Khalil Herbert, James Conner, Najee Harris, Pickens, and Mooney. In a half PPR scoring format, of the available players that you've mentioned, I'm going to play Jeff Wilson, Connor, and Najee Harris. I'm going all 3 running backs, and I'm not even afraid about it. I think those are 3. Listen, the idea of benching Mostert and playing Wilson ahead of him is risky, right? Because my assumption is that they wouldn't have played Jeff Wilson Jr. at the capacity that they did unless they purely trusted him to be that guy. And he delivered at a very high rate. And I think we could get another week here where, the woes of inconsistency or inefficiency from Mostert leads them to continuing to give Jeff Wilson the ball. So that's the direction I'm leaning in. If, in fact, you're like Andrew, I don't want to risk it with the Jeff Wilson Mostert opportunities. I don't want to have to pick between the 2 and then I bench the wrong guy. Fine. Then you play Mooney. And you accompany that with Najee and Connor. But otherwise, my primary suggestion was to go with Jeff Wilson there. All right, thank you. Trevor Newton says, standard 12-man league, Kyler, Saquon, Derrick Henry. Okay, so first and foremost, let's just put this on the table. Saquon and Derrick Henry win you this league. The rest of the guys just need to be 10-point players and need to score touchdowns when it matters most in those deeper, rounds. When you get to round, 15, 16, 17, fantasy playoffs. But otherwise, Saquon and Derrick Henry, in my opinion, win you this league based on those 2 guys throughout the stretch, probably putting up 25 apiece going forward on an average. So specifically, following that up with Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, Greg Dulcich, Josh Jacobs. I mean, you've got a really stacked squad, in my opinion. Again, it's going to matter as to whether or not Kyler can stay consistent and whether these guys like Christian Kirk, Mike Evans, they can score touchdowns in those given weeks that we need them to. I think Josh Jacobs is going to be a perfectly balanced option. You have Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson on the bench. You're currently 4-5. Any advice? Yeah, listen, I'm not moving any of your running backs. I'm not moving Kyler at this point. I guess you have Dak as well, so you don't really have to move either of them. You can just play them based on matchups entirely, which is a really good kind of flexible position to be in. I don't think I want to move anybody on your team, quite frankly. I think Evans and Kirk are really good until we get Keenan Allen back, and you could probably play Keenan Allen over Christian Kirk in those given weeks where we may not be too comfortable about the overall matchup, but I don't think I want to move anything. I really do believe rest of the way, beginning this week with Derrick Henry taking on Denver, and of course Saquon taking on Houston, those are big performances. And when you get into the playoffs, if you're able to in a 12-man league, you're able to reach that point with the current roster you have, because quite frankly, if you want to give away positions, you're not really going to get much in return that's an improvement. You're going to have to really take some L's on some of these trades in order to make any, like you'd have to really give like a 3-for-1 in order to make an improvement, and that kills your depth. So if there's a bye week coming up or if there's an injury that takes place, that could really jeopardize your season. That's why I don't want to move here, Trevor. Thank you. Let's see here. G Hefe says, just traded Godwin and Hardman for St. Brown in a PPR scoring format. Diggs is my best receiver. I feel like I got over on that trade. If St. Brown is who I think he is, if he is who we thought he was or is going to become, then I think purely it's a W. But again, it is purely dependent on his performance and how much utilization he's going to get in the coming weeks. And I think it's going to happen. I think the St. Brown that we saw late last season, early this season, will rejoin us. And when he does, he's going to be making waves in the fantasy community. So I think it's perfectly fine by me. After that, we had Joe Hall sends in a question, says CeeDee Lamb for Chase, ? I have Tyreek Hill, Kirk, and DJ Moore. If you're in a position where you can afford to wait probably 3 more weeks for Jamar Chase to return, okay, and I'm saying 3 more weeks as in very cautious number, right? Otherwise, he could very easily return after week 10, right? He can come back in week 11 somehow, week 12. But let's say you have to wait 3 more weeks here. So he comes back week 13. If in fact you can wait for that, and the absence of CeeDee Lamb doesn't prevent you from making the playoffs because you're missing that wide receiver, then I'm okay with it. I'm okay with making that trade. If that's not the case and you're more of I got to win to get in position, then you keep CeeDee Lamb and keep it rolling. Jeffrey, thank you very much for the question. Says, rank these rest of the season. El Deuce from Denver, okay. Komet or Everett. So I have Greg Dulcich, the curly-haired UCLA kid. Rookie tight end, I have him number 1. Number 2 would probably be Cole Kmet on that list, under the assumption that this offense really starts to, put it together in the coming weeks here. And then I have Everett 3rd, because once in fact Keenan Allen returns and Mike Williams returns, that's it. That's it for him. His value pretty much is corrupted at that point, unfortunately. Let me go ahead and scroll to the bottom. Okay, we're going to catch up on this chat real quick. I saw that Garrett sent in a question. Garrett, where's your question at, my man? Garrett, where art thou? You know what? While we're looking at the name Garrett, Ben, you know what? You won the lottery. I'm going to answer the question here. It says, and I'm in a 10-team full PPR roster. Josh Allen, Chase, Cooper, Ayuk, Garrett Wilson, Josh Palmer, Mooney, Josh Jacobs, Pierce, Stevenson. Wow, okay, that running back position is stacked. Josh Jacobs, Pierce, Stevenson, Aaron Jones. We're in a good spot there. Dulcich, Pitts, 6-3. Don't know what to do. Thoughts? Well, I think the number one thing that you should be addressing at this moment is a backup quarterback. Because if Josh Allen is going to miss some time, you definitely need to prepare for that. As of right now, with Chase out, you have to keep these guys on roster. Garrett Wilson's on a bye week, so you can't make any wide receiver moves. You're going to have to roll with, Cooper, Ayuk, Josh Palmer, two of these 3 guys, Mooney. Josh Jacobs, Pierce and Jacobs play this week. Stevenson's on the bye, so you wait until he returns. Aaron Jones is on that little bit of a fringe injury week. You may want to sit him. Dulcich probably plays for you for the rest of the year. Pitts, until we get a quarterback change, is probably an unreliable source of value. So at this point, you can't really move until you get past these bye weeks. And then once you do, I think it's just a matter of putting together, momentum players. Like if Josh Palmer keeps putting up good weeks with Mooney, I'm shipping them because I don't like their fantasy playoff schedules in comparison. And obviously Josh Palmer probably disappears in terms of value. You don't need 4 running backs for a 3-week stretch. But again, considering he is banged up a little bit here, Aaron Jones, this is one of those positions where you have to legitimately wait. You have a good record, so it's not a problem with waiting. You just have to find someone to drop off this team for a backup quarterback. And quite frankly, I would just wait until Josh Allen is deemed out, put him to the IR, don't drop anybody, then pick somebody up. All right, so we were on our way to answering Garrett's question, and we ended up there. So let's see what we can do here. Garrett, where's your question, my man? Garrett, here we go. PPR, I traded Everett, Boyd, and Deontay Johnson for Lamb. Everett, Boyd, Deontay Johnson for Lamb. Perfectly fine with that. I have depth with Njoku and Dulcich, Barkley, Jacobs, Henry, Sutton, and Tyreek Hill. Good trade. Yes, I think it's a W trade. Mainly because Everett, again, you don't need him. You have value here. You're giving him away. I think he has diminished values once, in fact, we do see the return of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I think Boyd obviously does see himself diminished values as well. Once, in fact, we see Jamar Chase return into the starting lineup, and Deontay Johnson has been a shell of himself this year, mainly because the quarterback play isn't efficient enough there in Pittsburgh for him to get those upside games where touchdowns were accompanied with his performance like we saw last year with Big Ben Roethlisberger. I think this is a W trade there, Garrett. Thank you. Sweezy sends in a question, says, I got offered Andrews. Okay, here we go. And Pollard for Ramondre and Likely. Okay. I have Dulcich as my tight end. Eckler, Mostert, Herbert are my other running backs. You got offered Andrews and Pollard for Ramondre and Likely. Man, I'm kind of beginning to lean towards yes. I'll take the Andrews and Pollard side. Mainly because if Andrews is healthy, I think he has just as much value as Ramondre Stevenson. And if Pollard is as good as I expect him to be, and they give him that starting position, considering Zeke is still limited at practice, still dealing with that knee injury, and they don't want to run Zeke into the ground. They have playoff aspirations with the current record that they hold. I think this is a trade you actually take. Again, it's under the assumption that we're getting in return a healthy Mark Andrews that is immediately going to play. But even if he doesn't, you have Greg Dulcich just in case to kind of make up for the 1 week he may miss in week 11. But again, that's an assumption. He may not miss any time, come back and be a stud, which I'm kind of interested in rolling with. All right, let's see here. Would you try to trade Foreman for Godwin? No, I would keep Foreman here. Dexter. Starting Juju, Lamb. Juju, Lamb, and I have Kirk as my flex. Should I make any changes and put either Miles Sanders or Jerry Jeudy in? Aldo, what's your scoring for my man? Andrew, Olave or Amari Cooper rest of the season? I would probably go with Amari Cooper rest of the season, specifically because once, in fact, we do see Deshaun Watson return, I know that there's going to be a little bit of dust that he needs to get off of his arm. It's not a matter of him building rust. I think he's a talented enough quarterback to be fine there. And I think the matchups in which we see in the fantasy playoffs will certainly, bolster a little bit of value there for Amari Cooper in comparison. As for rest of the season, JT or Alvin Kamara, I think they're relatively even. I'm fine with either one. I don't really have honestly, I think there's probably I think there's probably more of an incentive in my eyes, especially if you play in a PPR format, to just pick up Kamara and go with that rest of the season. And yes, Amari Cooper is the way I'd go. Obviously, change with more information tomorrow. But what are your thoughts on my flex play PPR? Thoughts Njoku, Swift, or Khalil Herbert? Yeah, listen, I think I'm playing Swift regardless. That's my thought process at this moment. Because Khalil Herbert, again, very much so situational, Joey, because he needs the team to be winning and he needs to get those fourth quarter rushing attempts to kill clock, to be able to burst out a couple runs here. Njoku needs to just be, fully healthy. That's the issue. Neither of these two are fully healthy at this capacity. And if I had to bet on one of them getting more opportunity and or scoring, it would be Swift, even if he's limited. Because like we saw this last week, Swift was literally a half a yard from scoring another touchdown, even in 10 snaps. They're going to get him the ball, and hopefully, if he gets another limited practice by tomorrow and or a full practice, fingers crossed, we have a lot of upside for him in the given week. Peoples-Jones gets a boost. looking like Njoku will be out again. Yeah, if Njoku is out again, I don't think Peoples-Jones gets a boost. I think he gets exactly what he has seen over the course of the entirety of this kind of 4-week stretch here, which is about 10 fantasy points and a half PPR, about 9 to 10 points. So I don't think he gets a boost of value. I mean, obviously the matchup is, advantageous for him, but I don't think it gives him that big of a boost ultimately. Rob, what's up? How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Would you try to, Greg Dulcich or Connor at the flex in a PPR? I'd play Connor this week at the flex. Let's see here. Let's move a couple things around. Played against Foreman, and all my running backs are injured. Yeah, that's tough there, Guardy. I would love to hear your thoughts on this lineup. I'm in a 10-team PPR league. I have Justin Fields, good. ETN, good. Jacobs, good. St. Brown, good. Waddle, fantastic. Goddard, really good. Pierce, I mean, this is the rookie running backs, huh? The rookie running backs this year. ETN, I consider him a rookie. Again, he didn't play last year. Dameon Pierce, Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall. These guys have, I know Breece Hall had his season cut short, but holy moly, these guys. The future of fantasy football right there. The young blood has inserted themselves into the conversation, and just wait till next year's, guys. Woo, it's going to be fun. Eagles defense, Younghoe Koo. We also have bench Mixon for on the bye, obviously, this week. Okay, so considering you have ETN, Jacobs, Mixon, Pierce, you're stacked to running back. You honestly could afford to trade one. St. Brown, Waddle, obviously those are your 1 and 2. And then you have the rest of those boys. You have Foreman on your bench as well. Dude, you don't even have to make any trades. At this point, I think you could legitimately, I'm not even joking, you could take Foreman if you would like, right? Because you have ETN, Jacobs, Mixon, and Pierce. You could take Foreman, you could take Goddard, go get Travis Kelce. I think you could legitimately get that done. Now, that's a matter of whether you want that. You could take Fields, you could take Dante Foreman, you can go get one of those top quarterbacks. Try to get Patrick Mahomes. Try to get not Justin Fields. You have Justin Fields. Try to get Jalen Hurts. Guys like that. Lamar Jackson. I mean, quite frankly, they might not be as valuable as Justin Fields going forward, but other than that, you're stacked. I mean, there's nothing really to improve on this team across the board. You're stacked at the position. Drop Godwin and pick up Pittman? No, I'm not interested in Pittman. Unless, okay, this is what I'll say, 415 Giant. The only time I'd be interested in picking up Pittman, and come close, listen closely. Number one, click the like button down below, everybody. If you guys could do me that solid, that'd be greatly appreciated. We have 83 likes, about 270 of you, so we can click that like button. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. If, in fact, we get into a situation, because we know that the organization is most likely not going back to Matt Ryan, and the reason why is because if Matt Ryan plays a certain amount of snaps this year, a certain amount of his contract is guaranteed, and if he gets hurt this season, a certain amount of his contract is guaranteed as well for next year. They're trying to avoid having to pay Matt Ryan for future seasons, so I do not expect Matt Ryan to play under center for the Colts ever again this season. Therefore, the anticipation is that if, in fact, we get after this week and they lose, the Colts lose, there may be a contingency within the coaching staff, specifically Jeff Saturday, that turns to Nick Foles. And if Nick Foles is brought out and starts to sling the rock, guys, watch out. Michael Pittman could have value once again. That's the only reason I would care to do that. But for right now, I'm keeping Godwin. Because again, the entire narrative I just spun requires a lot of dominoes to fall to get us there. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. Would you try to trade Foreman for Godwin? Don't need it. Keep Foreman. I think we talked about this already, Dexter. Started Foreman. Thank you. Thank the Lord. Yeah, seriously. Thank you. We got to thank Dante Foreman. Dante Foreman is just doing it for us, man. Full PPR. Kittle or Ertz? Yeah, I'm going to play Kittle there. Certainly. Claypool or Keenan Allen? Is this for this week? I don't think Keenan Allen's even playing, Leon. So I think you may be forced into playing Claypool this week. Godwin or Amon-Ra St. Brown rest of the season? Amon-Ra St. Brown by a significant margin in my eyes. Cordero Patterson not getting a touch for the quarter and a half after a 10-yard carry was not cool. Why, Andrew? I think they have certain packages, and I'll have to go watch film in order to kind of get an idea of this. I think they have certain positional packages, right? Whether it's 11 personnel, 3 wide receiver sets, 22 personnel. So they have different sets, whether it's in the pistol, whether it's in the gun, whether it's under center. Certain packages, they have certain running backs in. So I don't know what the deal was. There must have been a package where Cordero Patterson was exclusively in. Maybe he was just under center. And they completely abandoned going under center in the second half because, again, they were down a significant amount of points. And because of that, he got phased out of the lineup. I think that may be the case. I'm going to have to go watch that game back just to get a little bit of a better sense of it. But I think that's probably what the scenario was there. Would you try to trade for? Okay, we already did that. Okay, cool. All right, we had a couple donations sent in. Let me go ahead and address these really quickly. Mac Hollins or Wan'Dale Robinson or Gallup? Yeah, I'm going to go Mac Hollins there. Again, with Renfrow out, with Darren Waller out, why not Mac Hollins? I think it's a great option. Andrew, thoughts on Stevenson once Harris is back? Doesn't matter. Stevenson's won the job. It's over. Harris is going to get himself a couple touches here, Edwin, but it's not going to be significant enough to impact his overall value within a given week. There's too much target opportunity for Stevenson. He currently maintains all the goal line opportunity, and he's probably going to continue to get himself 15 plus rushing attempts per game, which even if you give 10 to 12 to Damian Harris in a run first offense, it does not impact his value at the end of the week. Let's see here. PPR, do I start Josh Palmer or DeAndre Swift this week, man? In a PPR scoring format, if DeAndre Swift is once again, limited tomorrow, Joshua, I think your best bet is to just play Joshua Palmer. Joshua, play Joshua. Okay. JT and Thielen for Zeke and Olave. Which side? I'd probably keep the JT side, to be totally honest, because Zeke doesn't really move the needle for me. I don't think he's someone that I want to have rest of the way, especially coming off of the MCL injury. That is as significant as it is. Would you wait, what does it say? Would you wait to hear if Andrews will be healthy though? Kind of weird. He wants likely. I know that as soon as I saw the likely part of that, Sweezy, it kind of like a exclamation point popped over my head, like metaphorically. I was like, wait, what? Like, what does he know that I don't in regards to likely? I don't know why he wants likely. I think he may likely might get, utilized more in that offense, and he could just like try to see what happens, or he's hoping on the demise of Mark Andrews and he just wants likely to kind of mess with you there. I don't see a demise. Again, if you have to wait for him to be healthy, I think it's fine, but you won't know, right? That'll require next. So it would require us getting to next Wednesday and seeing whether or not Mark Andrews practices. If you can wait till then to make the trade, then by all means, let's do that. Damian Pierce or DeAndre Swift the rest of the season? My main focus is for the playoffs. Francisco, great question. Tomorrow, we will have a rest of season running back rankings video. Okay, the video will encompass my top 36 running back rankings for the rest of the season. Okay, weeks 11 through 17. Within that video, it will also kind of give you guys a little bit of an understanding as to rest of season strength of schedule, specifically rest of the regular season, weeks 11 through 14, along with weeks 15 through 17. I'll talk about every single running back. The entire video will be running back centric. You'll get that answer. You'll get my ideas in regards to it, and you'll be good to go. As of right now, again, I got to do a little bit more research later tonight after the stream and be able to conclude an answer in that regard. Okay, let's see here. Questions that were sent in. We had Fainsky say, in a 12-team full PPR, I'm 5-4. How do I improve this team? Kind of weak in the running back / flex department in terms of depth. We have Burrow, Adams, Godwin, Kenneth Walker, Swift, Kelsey, Sutton, CEH, Pickens, Dillon, Brady, Burks. Okay, so overall, in terms of Burrow, Adams, Godwin, Kenneth Walker, Swift, I don't think you're technically weak in terms of running back depth. I understand that having CEH as that third guy is a little bit tricky, but once you've gotten past your bye weeks, again, Kenneth Walker has a bye week next week. Swift has already been past his. Once you get into a position where you're just able to start every single one of these guys every week, it's a matter of, the running back depth doesn't bother me. It's more of the flex position and who we can potentially fill there. The issue is you can't really trade Sutton, CEH, Pickens as of this moment. But Dillon could be your lottery ticket. He could be the guy that wins you the season under the assumption that going forward, we see more Dillon. Now, I'll tell you why. If you guys remember last season, there was a significant, I would say, there was a significant drop-off in the amount of snaps and touches that Aaron Jones specifically was given once he went down with his MCL injury last year. Because of that injury, they gave Dillon more and more touches, and as the season progressed towards the end, Dillon had a lot of significant performances. If they start progressing in that direction, then that could be your flex for the rest of the way. But in terms of trying to sell Sutton, CH, or Pickens for any sort of value, I don't see it existing. And quite frankly, in terms of getting rid of one of your stud options like an Adams or Kelsey to try to branch them into two different players, I don't think it's worth it. I think you want to have a stable, strong starting lineup because that's what matters in the end. So at this point, I think you're fine. Just got to hope that Dylan, breaks out. Brenton7 says Arizona defense versus the Rams with no Stafford, or Saints versus Pittsburgh. Yeah, currently I have the Arizona Cardinals defense ranked higher, even if Stafford plays. In fact, I would probably rank them even higher if Stafford plays because he'd probably throw a couple picks. Caleb Vasquez said, Metcalf or Jonathan Taylor in the flex full PPR. I'd play Jonathan Taylor this week. If he's active, fully healthy, gets another full practice tomorrow, I'm starting him, and I'm not even doubting it. Prolific Mac says, I hate DJ Moore. What you meant to say, Prolific, okay, what you meant to say is I really dislike it when the Carolina Panthers and their GM don't know how to scout and bring in quarterback talent. That's what you meant to say. You despise the fact that the Carolina Panthers are as dysfunctional as they are, and that every season you get tricked by the talent of DJ Moore being so high that you believe that DJ Moore, as a talent, can outproduce the shitty quarterback play that he has to observe every single season. And you know what? You're not alone in that. I also do not like that entire situation. And that's typically why I avoid DJ Moore in a lot of circumstances. But I'm assuming that's what you meant. I retranslated a little bit of your statement into what I assumed you were really talking about, okay? I appreciate that. Thanks, my man. D-Hop, JT, Olave, Lenny, sit one, full PPR. I'm sitting Lenny this week. Is Joe Mixon for Amon-Ra, Godwin, and the Bills defense a good move? No, I don't think so. I'd rather have Joe Mixon. I have Ramondre, Kenneth Walker, Pierce, Jay Jets, Jamal. Oh, man, gee, many Christmas, my man. I mean, look, okay, at this point, let's just put this in perspective. Joe Mixon, Ramondre, and Kenneth Walker could start every single game. Pierce could be that, in a good matchup, play him. Doesn't have as much touchdown upside in comparison to some of these other options. J-Jet, Jamar, don't move. London, again, that's probably a replaceable option. And Kittle is not replaceable. So in my mind, okay, what I would rather do instead of bringing in a haul like this, which I think you don't need, is to trade Joe Mixon, if you want to move him off the 50-point game, for a singular player. You don't need to go and trade him for 3 players. You need one solidified player that could be that third wide receiver. Assuming you start 3 wide receivers in this league, you may not, honestly. You may only start 2. And then you don't need to even move anybody, and you're good to go. You keep it, and we keep it moving because, bam, you've got a roster that I don't want to mess with. Hey, Andrew, are you looking to trade JT? I have Pierce and Fournette. Possibly trade Fournette instead. Yeah, I would probably trade Fournette instead. I just don't like the way that they're utilizing Fournette. And if Jonathan Taylor's healthy, I know he's going to get 20 touches a game, right? That's a given. Especially if the offensive line kind of improves their play with Jeff Saturday there. He can get into the offensive line meetings and really start to hammer out some points and figure out what the heck is going on in terms of pass protection. And not only that, but run blocking. Dude, this is one of the highest paid offensive lines in the league, and they haven't played as such this year. And obviously, they looked a lot better when Jonathan Taylor is out there, and he himself is making people miss and making that offensive line look like they're doing a better job than they actually are. So going forward, yes, I would rather give away Landry in that regard. Flex option, I was about to answer the question and you just retracted it. Damn. Okay, no problem. Sup, Andrew, full PPR. Would you start between Gabriel Davis, Pittman, and Palmer? I currently have Palmer highest ranked amongst the group there. Star Dilly. Thank you. A couple more questions that were sent in. Cameron, let me see here, Cameron. Let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit here. Cameron, where's your question? Cameron says, hey, Andrew, what do you think I should offer for Njoku? Okay, full PPR. I have Brady, Jones, Pierce, Kupp, AJ Brown, Waller, Olave. My bench is Madison, Benjamin, Edwards. I'm assuming that's Gus, Palmer, Pacheco, Otten, and Deshaun Watson. Who do we offer in exchange for Njoku? At this point, give away Waller. If they'll take it, we'll give away Waller. Because if Waller's going to be missing for the next 4 weeks, okay? That's weeks 10, 11, 12, 13. Maybe he comes back 14. Maybe he doesn't. If we're going to have to rely upon him in the first week of the fantasy playoffs, I'm not playing him. I absolutely refuse to play him coming off the injured reserve. I did it last year. For those of you who joined me last season in starting him in his first game back from his injured reserve stint last year, he didn't play well. And, I don't trust Waller at this point. So if you can move Waller with somebody else to get Njoku, I'm all in on that. You're going to move Waller and Palmer? Let's do it. I'm fine by that. I don't want Njoku I don't want Waller on my roster any longer. I don't need it. Carlos Sanchez, thank you very much. Says, I got offered Adams, Connor for Higgins and Ramondre. I probably am keeping Higgins and Ramondre, mainly because, oh man, dude, Adams is going to be lights out rest of the way. That's a tough one, actually. Ramondre, in my eyes, is certainly top 12 rest of the way. But if we're talking about a full PPR and Devontae Adams with no Renfro and no Darren Waller rest of the way, and we continue to get these high target volume games, he's too talented to make it disappear. I mean, the fact that he literally had 20 points in the first half of last week and literally caught the ball last week, second half, third quarter, fourth quarter, caught the ball once on 8 targets for 0 yards. Okay. That game could have been a 40-point masterpiece from him if Derek Carr was a little bit better. I'm actually struggling on this decision. If it's a full PPR, I might just take the Adams side just because of that upside. But this is just in a vacuum. I don't know what you have on roster, because my initial thought was just to take the stud running back and let that ride and let that be the deciding factor of me winning or losing a championship this year. But if in fact you have enough RB depth to make this kind of a trade, I'm okay with it. But you need to have 3 other stud running backs, because I don't want to start Connor the rest of the way. I truly don't. And if you don't have somebody else and you have to start Connor, I'd rather just roll with Ramondre. Michael Gonzalez says, my current team is Tua/Herbert. I have JT, I have Chubb, I have Ramondre, I have Amon-Ra, I have CeeDee Lamb, Debo, and Kittle. Any moves or hold? I mean, at this point at 4 and 5, you can trade away Herbert. That's the immediate thought that I have in my mind. Of course, Tua is going to have a bye week upcoming, so you probably want to keep him until then. JT, Chubb, Ramondre, you don't have to move any of those 3. Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb are good to go. Debo's great when he's healthy. Kittle's fine. I don't think you need to move anything. If you're going to move any players, you're going to probably wait, have a big performance, then sell them off the back of a big performance, But outside of that, I don't think you need to move anybody at this point. You got a pretty solid team across the board with a lot of depth. Zach Knight says, didn't pay attention to Thursday's game, and I didn't even look at Foreman after last week. What do you mean? What happened? Did you not start him? Oh, no. Michael says, what's Taylor's trade value at? Should I go and get him? Go out and get him? I think you can. His value is pretty much as to what exactly that manager wants, right? I can tell you what I value him at, but I don't know what you have to offer, and I don't know what they want in exchange. If you're going to go after Taylor, you're going to have to send a running back in exchange. And assuming that person values Taylor as a top 12 candidate, you're going to have to send a top 12 candidate back in exchange. And maybe they'll feel comfortable with it. Maybe they won't. Brady says, bro, you skipped when we went up. I mean, listen, Brady, hey, I'm here. Your question's here. I'll get there. Relax. Again, there's hundreds of you typing in the chat, and a lot of you guys spam, and a lot of you, get your questions kind of missed barely. It happens, Just be patient. If I don't end up reading your question, of course, I apologize in advance. I don't intentionally, do that. It's just a matter of circumstance and timing that just somehow, some way works in that capacity, but you'll be fine. In terms of this question, Kenneth Walker or Amon-Ra St. Brown this week, I'd rather just play Kenneth Walker. Sanders or Debo in a non-PPR, I'd rather just play Sanders there. PPR traded Stevenson for St. Brown in Hollywood. Kyler's my quarterback. I think I'd rather have just had Stevenson, to be honest. Unless you have some sort of ridiculous depth at running back, Silent Bandit, it's tough to trade him away. Again, as you guys continue to see, Stevenson's a guy that I do not want to give up. 5 PPR, what does that mean? You're getting 5 points per reception. Who do I flex this week, assuming Swift doesn't practice at a full capacity tomorrow? Swift or Deontay? I'm starting Christian McCaffrey, Henry. Let's see here. DK and Godwin. If, in fact, Swift is limited tomorrow, I'd probably play Deontay in a full PPR. Yeah. Hey, Andrew. Should I trade Debo, Jeff Wilson, and Higbee for Lockett, James Robinson, and DeAndre Carter? Should I trade Debo, Jeff Wilson, and Higbee for Lockett, Robinson, DeAndre Carter? Jeff Wilson, Debo. I mean, this is what I'm thinking, right? Higbee doesn't have much value. You're trading him away and not getting a tight end in return. So hopefully you have somebody at tight end. Full PPR, 2 QB league. I have Geno. Lockett would be a pretty good flex option, but I need running backs. If you're able to get back DeAndre Carter and J-Rob, right? J-Rob doesn't help you this week. DeAndre Carter is, in my opinion, soon to be irrelevant. And you're sending away Debo and Jeff Wilson, which in my mind, Debo has just as much value as Lockett, and Wilson has more value than J-Rob. So ultimately, I think I'd rather just have these two rest of the season. That's what I'm thinking at this moment. Yeah, that's probably what I would go with. Debo and Wilson rest of the way. Says I'm on a 7-game losing streak. 8-team league, full PPR. Look, this is what happens when you play in an 8-team league. This is going to be an all-star team, I can assure you, right? Lamar, Fields, Connor. Okay, it's not an all-star team. I'll tell you why. Injury. Wasn't the starter till week 4. Injury. Really good this year. Okay until the last injury. Pretty good as of late. Russell Wilson happened to him. Injury. Garbage. So, here's the issue with your team. In a 7-game losing streak, okay, we've already done 9 weeks here. That means you're 2-7. Theoretically, in order to win out, to even get into the playoffs in an 8-team league, I don't even know if it's possible mathematically. That being said, you have to win out. You got to win 5 in a row. If you want to win 5 in a row, go blow up your entire team. And what I mean by blow up your entire team is legitimately trade away and get a whole new roster. The only players I'm keeping is Waddle, and I'm moving everybody else. I would trade Fields and Lamar. I don't care. Go bring back one quarterback. Send everybody. Blow up the whole league. Make a masterpiece of consecutive trades. Because if you don't legitimately win 5 in a row, because I can't give you advice to make sure that you win this week, because I don't know who you're playing. I can tell you who to start, but again, you don't even have Andrews this week. You must have started Pitts this week, which is disastrous, right? At that point, I would have traded Andrews this week for Kittle or Goddard just to not play him, or just to play him over Pitts. That's what I'm looking to do. I am blowing up the roster and finding the best possible matchups every single week just to win. That's what I'm doing. Hey, Andrew, in a half PPR, would you start in the flex Sanders, Montgomery, Kirk, or Olave? In a half PPR, it's probably Sanders this week. The next best option in my mind is probably Olave, but yeah, Sanders is first and foremost there in my mind. Michael Gonzalez, thank you very much, says, oh yeah, we already did this one, right? Yeah, we did that. You got a pretty good team. We're keeping it as is. No problem there. All right. Jordy, let's see here. Where are you at, Jordy? Where are you at? Completely whiffed. My bad. That sucks. Andrew, question. Have you ever finished last in a league? In recent memory, no. Last in a league? Like last place, straight 12th. I'm trying to think. Because the first year I ever played fantasy football, 2008. Was it 2008? Let me see here. When was Calvin Johnson's rookie year, guys? Because I drafted Calvin Johnson his rookie year. And that's how I know that's the first year I started playing fantasy. 2007. Okay. So, I mean, I knew Calvin Johnson was going to be a monster back then. I don't think since beginning in 2007, I've ever finished 12th. I think it takes a specific amount of legitimate. You just have to not look at your team. If you stop looking at your team, that's how you get to 12th place. That's how it is. If you legitimately put in an effort every week to set your lineups, make waiver moves, make trades when needed, there's no way you can finish 12th. Now, there are some unlucky seasons where you'll have 17 different season-ending injuries, but then that becomes a question of how good are you at predicting potential success off waivers, and can you go ahead and did you have enough insurance on your bench to afford to be able to recover from the injuries? But in my recent memory, I don't remember ever finishing last in a singular league. I've definitely finished in a low position before, but I don't know about last. Like if you told me, actually no, I will 100%. In high school, 10 years ago, there are going to be 100% on NFL.com. There were leagues where I just stopped paying attention, and definitely I was in the lower bracket of teams because I was like, why am I playing fantasy? Right back then, I didn't even care. I wasn't dedicated. I am as of this moment, but. Good question. I don't think I've ever finished straight 12th before. Appreciate you. Yeah, no problem. Drop Godwin, pick up. Yeah, okay. We already answered that earlier. Okay, there were a couple more questions that were sent in. Let's do healing meditation. It says Jeff Wilson or James Conner in a full PPR. I want to hope that Jeff Wilson's better than James Conner this week, and I'll probably go that way as well. Yeah, that's where I'm going to go. If I had to pick two or pick one out of the two to purely just save my season, I'd legitimately rather play Jeff Wilson because I don't trust the running game of the Cardinals at that capacity to where I'm like full in on that. There were another question that I missed, right? Yeah, there was a couple more. Okay, so Pukes2X sends in a question, says, I have Herbert, I have J-Jet, I have Lamb, Pickens, Curtis Samuel. Okay, so your wide receiver position is stacked because of J-Jet and Lamb. You have Chubb, you have Jacobs, you have Foreman. Okay, you're good at running back. No problem there. Tight end, you have Dulcich and you have Njoku. Okay, you're good at tight end then at that point. You have a 12-team league. Pick my lineup and any moves that I should make to make this potentially stronger. I mean, at this point, straight up, Pukes or Pukes, whatever you want to call it. I'm not moving either of those two wide receivers. I'd like to have J-Jet and Lamb rest of the way. I'd like to have Chubb and Jacobs as my 1-2, Foreman as my flex. Being able to swap from Njoku to Dulcich rest of the way at tight end is perfect. I think if you want to just pick up depth, you can, but you're looking for depth wide receiver play. And at this point, I don't think you can really... I mean, you could technically try to trade Curtis Samuel away and pick up depth, but I don't really see it as something that I'm too interested in. On Saturday, I'm going to try to put out a video on Saturday morning that has rest of season wide receiver rankings. Hopefully, I can pivot or point you in the right direction in terms of a wide receiver based on matchups from weeks 15 through 17 that I'd like to go after in specific, that you could afford to get at a lower value kind of position that may be a value. Like, I'm thinking immediately, if I can get rid of Curtis Samuel and bring back Donovan Peoples-Jones, that's something that I'm interested in, because I really do like the Cleveland second half of the year schedule, specifically when we get to the end. And with Deshaun Watson's there, you never know. He may just be throwing up some, deep balls for Donovan Peoples-Jones and come value that could be of service to us in that long, late game stretch. Alex says, I have Cousins in my quarterback position. I have both Pollard and Zeke. Should I trade Zeke for Fields or any other quarterback if I make it to the playoffs? Should I trade Zeke for Fields? Yes, straight up, right now. Do it now. Like, I'm not even joking. I'd be 100% down with doing that. I don't think that Zeke is going to be the same after this injury. It's going to be a lot like last year where he's a shell of himself, because the knee injuries, especially with the amount of, mileage he has on his body, college, NFL, high school, all of it, it is definitely taking a toll on him. And it's definitely that much more difficult for him to recover than in his early years. So at this point, yes, I'm willing to make that. Chris Mendoza sends in a question. Okay, it's on our screen. Here we go. Chris Mendoza says, hey, I'm 6-3. Quarterback is Lamar Jackson. We have Kareem Hunt. We have Henderson. We have Foreman. We have Kirk. Okay, so at this point, you literally have one good running back, right? Actually, no, this is Dalvin Cook. So you have two. Okay, you have two good stud running backs. Perfect. Freiermuth is your tight end. Awesome. You have Kupp, Adams, Lazard, and London. Okay, London luckily showed up today, but I might want to sell high on that. These three are great. Carlson's your kicker. Awesome. Should I make any moves? Make any upgrades in a 14-team league? At this point, my biggest thought is to... okay, hear me out. I want to trade for David Montgomery as soon as I can. So if I'm in your position, I would like to trade Henderson and Hunt and go get David Montgomery. And the primary reason as to why is because I don't trust Hunt something has to happen to Nick Chubb for Hunt to get value, right? Let's just be honest. It has to. Unless he's going to steal a touchdown, which, again, if we have to guess which week that is going to be on, I'd rather not play that game, especially when it matters late in the season. And the reason why I prefer Montgomery is that rest of season strength of schedule. The last 3 games here for the Bears. Let me go ahead and pull this thing up. I understand, Justin Fields is running amok over there, but dude, when we're talking about gaining a lead and killing clock in the second half of these games, the fact that, actually, now that I'm looking at it, they only have a good week 17. It's before then. It's now until you know what? Never mind. Because now until he has a week 14 bye too. Never mind. Scratch that. Unless you're literally just looking for one running back for week 17, it's not worth it. Because as much as I like Detroit, Atlanta, New York, and Green Bay for the next 4 weeks, then he has Philly in week 15, which I don't think we can start him there. We can't start him in week 16 against Buffalo. You can start him against Detroit in week 17, but at that point, you're only getting one out of the last 3 games, and who knows if you can even get there. No, not worth it. Tomorrow, I will have a video in terms of rest of season strength of schedule and rest of season rankings of the running back position. Hopefully, that can kind of pivot you in the direction as to where to go. But I kind of just want to move Henderson and Hunt and get rid of them off this team. Maybe move London and just go get a significantly better flex play that could be the guy that in the fantasy playoffs is a stud option. That's just what I'm kind of thinking at this moment. Jordan says, you didn't answer my donation, Andrew. If you really had to choose, is it Pittman, Sutton, or Devontae? What do you mean? I thought I said I'm keeping Devontae. That's what I thought. If I have to choose to who I'm sending, because trade Pittman or oh, I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. Who am I giving away? I understand now. It's all clarity. If I'm giving away one of these two guys, I'm probably giving away Pittman. I don't trust Sam Ehlinger. And the hopes of the Nick Foles thing is kind of a pipe dream. So I'd rather just give away Pittman. My apologies there. Didn't realize what I was even answering. Yeah, man, I kind of like the idea of David Montgomery up until those 2 weeks. 15 and 16 are just kind of sketchy. It's not like he can't produce. It's just it becomes that much more difficult. Chris Mendoza says I have Brissett this week. Yeah, I think Brissett is a really, really good option this week, actually. Francisco says half PPR. Dante Foreman is my 5th running back, and I'm looking to trade him for a wide receiver, high upside. Any ideas? Yeah, I mean, at this point, if you can, I mean, considering his last 3 performances, if you can go get CeeDee Lamb for it, by all means, let's go for it. Because I think that's a relatively even trade. But, maybe the guy with CeeDee Lamb doesn't need a running back, doesn't want to get rid of him. Then at that point, we're just looking for a lower end wide receiver 1 play. And that's the kind of idea that we're kind of pivoting in the direction of. I traded Mixon for Amari Cooper Sunday morning. Wait, what? Andrew, I traded Mixon for Amari Cooper. Can we get a moment of silence for Zulugs? Thank you. Okay, moving on. I don't know what to tell you, my man. I don't know what to tell you. JT or Fournette PPR? I'd rather have JT. Anticipating Allen being out, drop Cooks or Damian Harris for Garoppolo? I'd rather drop Damian Harris for Garoppolo. Thank you. Flex option, Goddard or Antonio Gibson? I'd rather have Goddard. I have Kelsey as my tight end already. Pollard and Foreman are my starters. Yeah, I play Goddard over Antonio Gibson this week. Andrew, I need help. So bad I'm hurting. Yo, you guys are feeling physical pain, huh? I'm in so much pain. Help me alleviate it. 12-team league, flex 2, half PPR, start 2. Hunt, Mooney, Khalil Herbert, Landry, or look to the waivers. Okay, I don't know what's on waivers, but Mooney starts immediately in my eyes, and I probably then at that point, I don't want to have to double up. I probably go Hunt and Mooney there. When I mean double up is I don't want to play 2 Bears in case it goes badly. Finesse Gaming says, what's the similar value guy that I can target for Aaron Jones? Here's the issue with Aaron Jones. He's injured. So under that current umbrella, DeAndre Swift, thoughts? Maybe we could do it. I'm down if you can get away with it. Hey, Andrew, I'm 7-2. Eckler, Chubb, Tyreek, Godwin, Njoku, Juju. Was offered Christian McCaffrey for Tyreek Hill. Do I take it? Christian McCaffrey for Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill right now is in a full PPR. I just want to see his fantasy point per game average. Tyreek Hill right now is putting up 23 points per game. I'd rather have Christian McCaffrey the rest of the way. All right. Okay, so it's about 9:41. In about 10 minutes here, probably. Yeah, 10 minutes here. I'm going to have to peace on out. We're going to answer a couple more questions, of course, to the best of our ability. But I got to go and prepare for tomorrow's video. I, of course, have to finish everything by tonight so that by tomorrow morning, Andrew goes to Wakanda Forever, watches that, and then comes home, records, bada boom, releases the video. So, a couple more questions here. Dre Play says, half PPR, streaming quarterback for this week. Thin and wide receiver was offered Tua for either Amon-Ra or Godwin. Would you take that or leave it? If you're streaming quarterbacks at this moment and you can get Tua for giving away one of these guys, I would give Godwin and I would just take Tua for the rest of the year. That's what I'm thinking at this moment. Trevor says, I traded Waddle and Dak for Josh Allen, Amari Cooper, and Gabe Davis. Did I win? I think that's, if Josh Allen is going to be normal Josh Allen rest of the way, right? And we have no sort of, even let's say, for example, Josh Allen is 85% of his normal fantasy capacity, I think it's a W trade. Because 85% of Josh Allen is significant enough to where Josh Allen and Amari Cooper still outscore Dak Prescott and Waddle. Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams in the flex. I'd play Jamal Williams this week. Danny, because again, Aaron Jones has been limited all week, and I don't even know how much of a capacity in which he's going to play in. Thoughts on Cleveland's Peoples Jones at wide receiver? Again, I think he's got really good rest of season value. Excuse me. In terms of once in fact Watson's back, he'll go from having those as of right now in the last 5 games that he's participated in 4 of those games he's been a top 36 wide receiver. Of course, he's ranking at like number 33, 32, 31, 34. But once in fact you get Deshaun Watson back and the offensive passing game is a little bit more elevated in comparison to what it is now, we could have some touchdowns accompany his performances, which elevate him. David says, "What's up from Las Vegas? What are you doing in Las Vegas, huh? What are you doing in Las Vegas watching my stream, bro? Do you live in Las Vegas, or are you just there, having fun and just watching Andrew stream before you go out tonight? Like, what's the deal here?" Higbee or Schultz rest of the season? I'd rather have Schultz rest of the season. How about JT and Christian Kirk for Jacobs? That's under the assumption that you purely believe that Jonathan Taylor is done. No questions asked, finished. If he is, and that's what you believe, that's perfectly fine. But I think at this point, you may be giving a little bit too much. Jacobs or ETN? I'd rather have ETN rest of the way, Danny. Do you like the Chicago tight end Cole Kmet or Denver Greg Dulcich? Earlier today, GGG, I put out a video for rankings at the quarterback and tight end position going into the week. I have Greg Dulcich ahead of Cole Kmet. I do observe the fact that Cole Kmet has scored 2 touchdowns, or has scored a touchdown in each of the last 2 weeks. And the the Detroit Lions, specifically the defense that they're playing this week, give up a bunch of points to opposing tight ends. So I'm not wholly against the idea of playing Cole Kmet. He's in my top 12 rankings, but I have Dulcich significantly higher than him, considering he plays against Tennessee, and that is another one of those top matchups at the tight end position as of late. Okay, a couple more questions that were sent in here via donation. Let me go ahead and address these real quick. We had a question in from Howard. Howard, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It says, "Hello, full PPR, 10-team league, flex 2 options." Okay, so we have Kyler, we have Christian McCaffrey, we have Taylor, Hopkins, Godwin, Kelsey, Damon Pierce, Swift, A-Rob, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Brandon Cooks, Henderson, Wan'Dale Robinson, Deion Jackson, Jamison Williams. How's the team looking so far? Trade ? Okay, so I don't know what your record is, Howard, but let's say, for example, you have a winning record. Let's say you're at least 5-4 at this position. With Christian McCaffrey and Taylor rest of the way, Hopkins, you're good to go. Kelsey, you're good to go. Godwin needs to step up a little bit more. Damian Pierce. Okay, so you'll have technically 4 actually reliable running backs, okay? If, in fact, you're getting... Okay, this is my thought process, Howard. You wait this week. You see how Taylor plays. If Taylor's the Taylor of old, you keep rolling. You trade DeAndre Swift out of here. If, in fact, we get the opposite of that, where Taylor's just middle of the pack, 70 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 reception for 9 yards, finishes the week with 8 fantasy points, you can ship him out, use DeAndre Swift for the fantasy playoffs, and let it roll that way. And what you're shipping him out for is specifically wide receiver depth, because as much as I like Godwin, I still think you can improve upon that. Appreciate it, Howard. But again, it's waiting this week and seeing what we can get out of those guys in terms of potentially, understanding what kind of a team we have going forward. Fasty sends in a question, says, "I'm in a 12-team standard league, pick 2. Kareem Hunt, Rashad White, Claypool. If I'm picking 2 in a standard format, I'm playing Claypool and I'm playing Kareem Hunt there. At the moment, I'm starting Christian Kirk, Kupp, and Aaron Jones. Must start 2 running backs." Yeah, I mean, at this point, if we're starting... must start 2 running backs. Yeah, so if we have to start 2 running backs, it would be Aaron Jones and Kareem Hunt, and then you're playing Claypool as well as that extra flex option. Thank you. Okay, let me go and answer a couple more of these questions, and then we're heading out here. I do appreciate you guys coming through. Let's see here. Trade Justin Herbert and Garrett Wilson for Joe Burrow. I'm fine with that. If you have enough wide receiver depth, I think that's a great trade because Joe Burrow is significantly better than Justin Herbert the rest of the way. No Fear says, "Should I trade Kittle and McLaurin for Justin Jefferson?" Wow. Okay. Yes, I would. I'm perfectly fine with that. No Fear. I don't have any fear in that regard, so I'll take Justin Jefferson the rest of the way. ETN over Jacobs again. Trade away Swift, Godwin, and Njoku for J-Jet and Gibson. I already have Kelsey. But what do you have at running back? Because you're giving away Swift. That's the question. That being said, Noah, considering you're a 3-6 football team right now, fantasy football team, it is not... I do not mind the trade. If, in fact, we get to tomorrow and we see that Swift is once again limited on Friday, I'm okay taking this trade. I think it's probably in your best interest to, shake it up a little bit, see if we can get a big performance out of J-Jet, and hope for the best. But again, giving away Swift requires you have enough running back depth to survive without him. And I know you've been without him for this long, but if he practices fully tomorrow, I might want to just keep him and play him. Kirk, Ayuk, Davis, or Judy is my wide receiver 2. As of right now, it's Christian Kirk here, Ben. Thank you. Schultz, rest of the season. Kent. Trade away Swift, Godwin. Okay, we already did that. Thank you. No problem, Danny. We already did that one just right now. Great, Francisco. Okay, let's hear Kaiser. Trade away Walker for Evans and Jake. Wait, trade away Walker for Evans and Jacobs, or Walker and Gabe for St. Brown and Jonathan Taylor. You know what? I think I'm okay with either. I like both trades, to be honest. I'll take either of them. Whichever one that you like, let's take it. Because at this point, Kaiser, I think both of them improve your team. Francisco says, I traded Nick Chubb and Kyle Pitts for Mark Andrews. I had a massive hole at my tight end position, but I had Nick Chubb, Christian McCaffrey, Travis Etienne, Mark Andrews. Okay, yeah, you're stacked at running back. You don't need to, you don't need to gloat, okay? You don't have to put it in all of our faces, Francisco. You got a stacked team. We get it. In terms of the trade, if Mark Andrews is healthy, I mean, based on what you have at running back, you won't be missing Nick Chubb going forward. Bench London. So who am I rolling with? Tony, Hardman, or Hollins? If Hardman is healthy, I play him. If not, I'm playing Hollins because I don't trust Tony just yet. Geno Smith or Kyler Murray this week? Kent, I have Geno Smith ahead of him in my rankings this week. If you want, check out that video. I'll give you a little bit of my thoughts in regards to that. I posted it earlier today. It has Travis Kelce on the thumbnail. Thank you. Fasty was a question. We got to get to Corey Olsen real quick. Played Patterson in the flex. Hard to watch. Yeah, that was definitely a tough watch. That game was literally putting me to sleep in the first half. Like, I almost fell asleep and took a nap. So kind of gives you an idea. Emma says, I want to know how Wakanda Forever is tomorrow. Yeah, hopefully it'll be good. I'll talk about it on Saturday. We'll see how it goes. Again, the recent Marvel movies that have come out in this last phase, like Doctor Strange most recently, I could have lived without it. The Eternals, I could have lived without it. I thought Shang-Chi was fantastic. I've watched that thing like maybe 4 times already. Shang-Chi is an absolute ridiculous movie. The CGI, the attention to detail that goes into movies like this. Oh man. I mean, you guys know, I mean, you guys see the graphics that we put together here, right? Like I try to make sure that every graphic I have on screen, like during those rankings videos, all that kind of jazz, is at the highest of quality. And I love all that kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. I appreciate that, Kent. Thank you. What's Foreman's outlook next week? NV. Tomorrow, we're going to have a rest of season rankings video up for the running back position only. I'll talk about my top 36 running backs rest of the way. Talk about the rest of season strength of schedule. It'll give you an idea as to what his outlook is rest of the season, and specifically going forward into next week and all that kind of jazz. So it is relatively high. I don't think anybody's coming in to take his job. And quite honestly, the rest of the season outlook is really promising considering his schedule. JT or Burrow in the Superflex? Burrow's not playing this week, so I think that answers your question, Mr. TD. You play JT this week because Burrow's on bye. Full PPR trade Sutton for Devonta Smith. I'm okay with that. Yeah, that works for me. Gabriel Davis or Michael Pittman worth keeping? Yeah, I think they're both worth keeping to an extent. Just depends on what you have available, theoretically. Should I try to trade up for a better QB? Pukes, let me try to remember your question. You have Justin Herbert. Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. But here's the issue, right? Like, you have Chubb, Jacobs, Foreman. You have JJ and Lamb. Like, what are you going to give to get a better QB? That's my biggest concern. I don't want you to overextend your team to where you're losing one of your 2 starting wide receivers or one of your 2 starting running backs in your flex. Those guys have to stay. So if you're going to trade Herbert with one of your tight ends and go get a better quarterback, by all means, let's do that. But I don't know if you'll be able to get away with that technically. Should I trade Josh Allen and Gabe Davis for Diggs? I think this is relatively, I mean, I don't know what you have at quarterback, Trevor. Like, if you can get rid of Allen and be okay at quarterback, I think that's definitely a tough position. Yeah, because giving away Allen, like if Josh Allen is going to be his normal self, where he's putting up like 27 points per week, the drop off in production, which you'll see at quarterback observed on a weekly basis, could be 7 points. And the difference between whatever you're starting as your wide receiver 1 in comparison to Diggs, if it's a 7-point gap and you're getting a 7-point improvement, then that's fine. But ultimately, it could end up hurting your squad more than anything, because Josh Allen, I mean, Diggs is an extension of Josh Allen. So if the ship is going down altogether, everyone's going to hurt. So it is tough because of the injury situation currently revolving around the organization. Foreman for Swift. We'll talk about that tomorrow. You'll get a better idea based on my rest of season rankings. Full PPR, Fields, Dulcich, and Judy for Kelsey. My team is Fields, Herbert, Mixon, Kamara, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. Give me Kelsey. Drop a like, everyone. I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you. If you guys can do me the favor, do me that solid. About 250 of you in here. 250 of you in here. If you can go ahead, drop that like, be greatly appreciated. Giant, I appreciate that. Thank you. Raiders defense or New Orleans this week? I honestly have the Raiders higher this week in terms of my rankings. Who do I flex? Aaron Jones, Lazard, or more? I would play Lazard this week. Going to see it tomorrow night. Can't wait. Yeah, it should be fun. Should be definitely fun. What happened to Patterson? I mean, from what I can tell, I'm going to have to watch the game back, Troy. I think it was a matter of this over. I don't want to speculate, but from what I think happened, there were certain formations in which they specifically used certain running backs. And because of that, and the fact that they got into a 2-minute kind of offense for the late half of that game, it pretty much evaporated all of his overall potential of playing. So that's what I'm assuming it is. I'm going to go ahead. I'll dissect the film later tonight after I finish a little bit of information regarding tomorrow's video, but we'll figure that out. Do you think Pittman is overhated, or do you mean overrated? What do you mean by, did you actually mean overhated, or do you mean overrated, Daniel? Like, because it's funny that either way, whichever one, there's a valid question there. Should I trade away Foreman for Brady and Brady for Tua? No, keep Foreman. Again, unless you're, I think I would rather just keep Foreman. I have Debo, Olave, Godwin, Lockett, Tony. Should I drop? Which one should I drop for Garrett Wilson? I would drop Tony for Garrett Wilson. Is there any reason to trade Mahomes for Allen? No, I don't think so. I don't think there's any reason in my mind specifically to do so. What can I get with Freiermuth as my tight end? Can I get by with Freiermuth as my tight end? I have Andrews, but want another stud? Yes, I think you can. Again, I mentioned this a little bit ago last week. I had a video in regards to the trade reactions to Claypool and Hawkinson, all those guys, Jeff Wilson. In that video specifically, I did mention the absence of Chase Claypool, and I mentioned it earlier today in terms of my tight end video. The absence of Chase Claypool opens up so much opportunity for flex receiving upside with Pat Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth was the only other receiver in that offense outside of Chase Claypool that was running routes out of the slot position. And now that Chase Claypool is gone, there is so much more volume of upside in terms of targets going in his direction, mainly because Kenny Pickett does not like to throw the ball deep. In comparison to all other quarterbacks in the National Football League right now, Kenny Pickett has a bottom 5 accuracy in terms of passes 20 or more yards down the field. He feels far more comfortable throwing within that short range of 0 to 9 yards, and that is where he's going to live, and that's where Freiermuth lives within this offense, especially without Claypool in the lineup. So yeah, I'm all in on that. Hey, Andrew, standard league. I'm worried about Josh Allen's elbow. Do I sit Gabe Davis for Njoku or Sutton? Yes, I probably would sit them for Njoku under the assumption that he plays. If he doesn't play, I'm okay with Sutton there because I don't want to play Gabe Davis with Case Keenum. I don't know if they really kind of match up well within each other. Boom. Najee Harris or Gabe Davis full PPR? I'd rather have Najee. Thank you very much, A-Train. I appreciate that. I'm stuck starting Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, or Terry McLaurin in the flex. I'm playing Jonathan Taylor there. Yeah. If we have to start a second one, again, it purely depends on what kind of if we have to start a second one, for example, let's say you have 2 of them, it would depend on whether or not DeAndre Swift practices fully tomorrow. If he does, I play him. Otherwise, you go McLaurin and Taylor. But otherwise, Taylor's the number 1 option there. Correct. Need a wide receiver. Should I move between Etienne, Walker, Pierce, and Foreman? I have Jefferson, Judy, and Pickens. Tomorrow, I'll have my rest of season rankings in terms of running backs. That should give you an idea as to who I'd rather have rest of the way. Should I trade Devonta Smith and Foreman for Cooper? No. Again, I think you're giving up too much. I think Foreman is more valuable than Cooper in the long run in an 8-team league. I understand you're probably stacked at running back, but I think you can get more value than that. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, again, nobody else wants him in your league, and I'm completely incorrect. That could be the case. Clarification trade. Would you trade Jonathan Taylor for Burrow or Herbert in a Superflex? Now I understand your question, Mr. TD. Would I trade Jonathan Taylor for Burrow in a Superflex league? Yes. In a Superflex format, I would be fully comfortable doing so. That is the primary format I like to play in anyway. How should I value Foreman going forward in a PPR? Top 12 running back. Lower end, but nonetheless top 12 running back. That's how you should value him. So if you're going to make a trade with him, or you're going to, try to sell him to somebody, you have to, you got to ask for that level of respect in return. Start Jeff Wilson or Rondell Moore. I think it depends on format. I think I'm going to play Jeff Wilson regardless, but if it's a full PPR, I wouldn't mind the Rondell Moore play just off of pure base floor production. Like, hey, I'm going to get 10 points and I'm going to get out of here, and that's all I need this week. Is Kamara having 24 plus game? What does that mean? Is Kamara going to score 24 plus points in a game? I don't know. I mean, his upcoming schedule is pretty favorable, so I wouldn't. Oh, you're talking about specifically this week. Is that what you're referring to, Joe? If that's the case, this is what I will say. I'm assuming Kamara scores about 17 points this week and a half PPR. That's what I'll put it at. That's where I have my projection at specifically. What can I get from Lazard and Godwin package? If you can send away Lazard and Godwin, you know what? That's a good question. If you can find someone that actually needs 2 wide receivers and they're willing to give you back 1, Lazard just keeps scoring, man. Here's the thing about Lazard. He legitimately in a full PPR is a 15-point guy. So if you're going to trade away him and Godwin, you better get back somebody that's scoring more than 15 points a week. That's the issue. So I don't know how many people are going to be willing to do that, but that's what I'm looking for, because he just scores too often. He really does. Too many touchdowns for his own good, maybe. Is Allen dig stack better than Mahomes and Kelsey? Rest of season? Probably. But that's under the assumption that Allen is healthy. Again, that's the question. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I should ban you. I gotta think about that, RS. I don't know, man. Like, this is the thing that we have here in this chat, okay? We don't judge other people, okay? Regardless of what they do, what they like, anything of that matter. So if you're gonna judge someone on the movie that they watch, I don't mess with that, I just don't want that in my community, right? So if you're gonna judge people on that factor, I don't welcome that here. So I'm not gonna ban you, but if you continue that kind of stuff, I'm not for it, my man. It's not something that I want to continue to promote in here, and that's not something that I believe in. So I'm not interested in any sort of capacity of any of that bullshit that you're pushing. All right, appreciate it. I meant overhated because it seems that people would rather play anyone over Pittman despite the good matchup. Here's the issue. Regardless of the matchup, the quarterback is the issue, right? The potential of a player, specifically a wide receiver, is often related in correlation with the quarterback that they're playing with, right? So if the quarterback is not good enough to trust, for example, DJ Moore today, we got a really bad version of PJ Walker. If we got a better version, great. But we didn't get the version that we wanted in terms of throwing the ball more often. So at this point, not too interested in conversations in which we're playing Pittman, because Sam Ehlinger just does not seem like he's the guy. Monty or Jeff? I'm going to play Monty this week there. Jeff Wilson, we already did that. Okay, cool. Okay, I think that's pretty much going to cover it, guys. I do appreciate you guys coming out here today. Appreciate you guys supporting. Is there anybody that sent in a question that I did miss? Troy, did we miss your question? I did. Okay, so let's talk about this. Troy says, trade A.J. Brown, get Jamal Williams, Dante Foreman, Darnell Mooney. Good trade, question mark? Non-PPR. If you're Troy, I don't know what the rest of your team looks like. I forget, because I know I've seen it multiple times. If you're in need of that running back position, if you need Jamal Williams for this week, or actually this will be a trade for future weeks, right? If you're in need of running back, I don't mind it, because you're at least getting 2 guys that are in that top 15 conversation the rest of the way, considering their current circumstance. So again, if you have enough wide receivers to survive this in a non-PPR, and you're bringing in 2 running backs because you need that running back depth, I'm fine with it. Okay, that's pretty much it. We're good to go. I do appreciate you guys. Perla says don't leave. I gotta go work on tomorrow's video, otherwise I'm not gonna have time for everything. I'm a one-man army, guys. I gotta go and take care of everything. If I had a couple lackeys here and there cranking out stats for me, that'd be great. But I gotta put the personal touch on everything that I do. I can't. I'm too OCD about all this kind of content and everything that I push in terms of content. I appreciate that. I need to do something real quick. Let's go ahead. Let's do this. Boom. Awesome. I appreciate that. Okay, guys. Is Nico Collins playable? I don't think so, man. I think I'd rather play Philip Dorsett or Chris Moore. I don't know if Nico Collins is going to be fully healthy this week anyway. We got to check out his practice report for sure. What does it say? I'm up against the guy that has been sleeping on a what? I don't know what you meant there. LOL watching from Vegas. How many people we got watching from Vegas here? We got a lot of you. Shout out, guys. Go to the roulette table and put it on 17. All right, that's all I'm gonna say. Just put it on 17. I don't know why, but it might hit. It might hit. You never know. All right, guys. I do appreciate it. Until next time, which will be tomorrow, running back rankings video for the rest of the season. I do appreciate your what is that, Warren or McKinnon? Go pick up Warren. I'm hearing a lot of rumors regarding him getting more touches going forward. Could be something that we want to be in interest of, just in case. Hunt or Brian Robinson this week. I'd probably play Hunt. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Healing. All right, guys, that's it. If I'd love to be here for 12 more hours. I would. I can talk fantasy all day. You guys know that. But I just can't be here. Okay. Again, thank you. Click the like button down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Also, if you guys haven't checked out PrizePicks, go ahead and do that today. There's a link down in the description. When you go ahead and travel to their website, it's about picking more or less on a given player statistic. If you pick more, put together an entry of more than one player on multiple different teams, whether it is the NBA, the NFL, all that encompassing. Of course, they got the UFC and the UFC event coming up this Saturday. Check that out today. Use promo code Andrew when you use the code. And use promo code Andrew when signing up and make a first-time deposit. You'll be given a first-time deposit match up to $100. Check that out. Other than that, thank you guys for joining us tonight. And until next time, we're going to cue the music and let that finish off the stream. Thank you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.